Hey everybody, welcome to Racing to Real Estate. I'm Josh Tucker. This is our co-host John Roberts. We got Greg Biffle coming on the show today as our special guest. We're going to talk about some racing, we're going to talk about real estate, and the show starts now.
Welcome everybody to our Duckworths Studio here in Mooresville, North Carolina, also the home of Anchor Real Estate. This is Racing to Real Estate. Once again, I'm John Roberts, he's Josh Tucker. And Josh, man, we got a lot to talk about today, and also we got a very special guest.
Yeah, so Greg Biffle is going to be joining us here in just a few minutes on the show. We're excited about that. We're going to talk to Greg about some real estate. We're going to talk about some racing. Should be a fun time. Before we bring Greg on, John, let's just recap a couple of things on how fans can engage with us. So we've obviously got all of our social media channels. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can watch the show on YouTube, and you can ask us questions using hashtag R2RE.
We actually got a couple of questions from last week, which is good because we just started out. This is only our second episode, but we had a lot of fun last time talking about racing and real estate. Right now, we're heading into the NASCAR playoffs, so it's great to have a champion with us to talk about that. But also, we're going to keep an eye on just what kind of impact that Hurricane Florence had on the real estate market in this area, and also keep you up to date on some market updates as well as some history.
Yeah, so fun show. Let's go ahead and ramp this thing up, and let's bring Greg in here right after we hear a word from our sponsor, Duckworths.
Duckworths Grill and Tap House is your neighborhood restaurant. Good food, good friends, a huge selection of craft beers on tap, not to mention the weekly and daily food specials. 5 locations in the Charlotte metro area. Make sure to go down and check out your local Duckworths. Okay, welcome back once again, everybody, to Racing to Real Estate. And you know what, Josh? It is great to be in the presence of a champion. 2-time NASCAR champion Greg Biffle.
I like that. You're talking about me?
Yes, you. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, between the 4 of us, we have 2 championships here.
All right. 4, I only count 3.
Who's the
4th one? Are you talking about producer Paul back there?
Paul back there.
Producer Paul don't have any championships either.
Yeah, he counts too. But Greg, a lot of people don't know probably that as well as you drove a race car, the whole time you were driving actively, you were also involved in several different businesses, especially real estate.
Yeah, I did. I was. And I from a young age, I was always interested in real estate and properties. And my parents owned, 5 acres and bought a 4-acre tract next to them. And, I was just always, interested in real estate. And a lot of people gained a lot of wealth in real estate. Mm-hmm. And I love recreation, and I love playing outside, and I love playing on my heavy equipment and all of that. So when I've got the money, saved up a bit of money, I was looking for, a few tracts of land when I moved down to North Carolina, when I knew I was going to be here for an extended period of time.
And Josh, that led us to Anchor Real Estate.
It did. So ironically, before Anchor Real Estate started, as we talked about last week, I kind of retired from NASCAR 2012, got into real estate 2013, and between 2013 and 2015, Greg and I did a lot of real estate transactions together. We were flipping some houses, helped him, get some tenants in some lease buildings, different things of that nature. And I remember it well, Greg. I don't know how well you remember it, but it was the fall of 2014, and Greg's at Martinsville. And he gives me a call and he says, "Hey man, what's your schedule look like today? Why don't you buzz up to Martinsville? I'll be done qualifying about 5:30. We can go grab some dinner and we'll talk about real estate." And little did I know he really wanted to talk about, building a company. I thought maybe he wanted to flip another house or something like that, but he had bigger things in mind. So
I always plan ahead by a long way. You know me by now. I'm always planning ahead. What are you doing this afternoon?
I usually plan about 2 or 3 minutes ahead. That's about all I can handle.
Yeah. So buzzed up to Martinsville. I think we went to Elizabeth's and had some pizza.
Yep.
And talked about forming our own company. I think I stayed in his bus there until about midnight that night. And we talked about a lot of different thoughts and ideas, and that's where Anchor kind of started. So started in 15. We're about 3 years old now. We've grown to 7 agents. I think we've done
a couple $100 million in sales. I mean,
yeah, that's not bad.
Not bad. Things are looking good.
Yeah.
And a couple things we'll get into later about the company and how we like to. We have some innovations we're going to be talking about on this show throughout the next 12 weeks or so. But also, what we want to do is go back a little bit in time. Greg and I actually started talking, first of all, at the racetrack because we both love dogs, we both love pets, and they had a great animal rescue going on. So they were doing an issue of the calendar was coming out, and I just wanted to say this on national TV. It was at Ass Clown Brewery. I just wanted to say we're at Ass Clown Brewery, and we go there to see Greg, and me and my wife Tracy, we run into Josh, and we're just shooting the bull. We don't know, we've never met Josh. It was the first time we met. And so as we're walking out the door, my wife has a pretty good, except for me, with the exception of me, she has a pretty good judge of character. And so she said, I like that Josh guy. Take one of our cards back in there. We're working for another real estate company at the time. Sure. So I give him one of our cards, and he said, oh, funny, I'm involved in a real estate company with Greg. I said, really? And so everybody's mind started spinning, and it took us a little while longer than it should have to figure out that we all needed to be working together, and that's how we got to this place, because we all, again, we have the same philosophy. We like to work with people, help people, have personal relationships, and also innovate through communications is how we like to have Anchor Real Estate perceived.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's about. It's about finding the right buyer for that house. It's the buyer finding the house they want. It's the right representation, and there's a lot to that. And that's what I resourced Josh. Josh was very, very thorough and meticulous about the way he did the transactions and read the contracts thoroughly, because I wanted somebody to read the contract word for word, because I just want to sign it.
And you can get caught. You can get caught if you don't.
And I thought it was important, and that's what this company's built out of is doing great things for people.
Yeah. So, like I said, about 3 years old. Greg might have been a little aggressive in saying $200 million in sales. I wish we were quite.
Sounds good.
It sounds really good. It does sound really good. I think, truth be told, we're probably about 50, which in 3 years, for the size of company we are, Anchor Real Estate, 7 agents, we're a boutique company, and we really try to just enhance the experience for the client. We never really, when Greg and I started talking about Anchor and our visions for Anchor Real Estate, we never really had a vision of growing to 300 agents. Mm-hmm. That's not really our goal. That's not really, we want to have a smaller company with great agents that really care about the client experience. And so far, so good. We're very humble. We know we got a lot of ground to gain. And we appreciate you and Tracy's involvement in the company. You've been a lot more to the company than just agents. Tracy is our broker in charge, so she's actually my boss.
Well, she's the boss. My boss, too.
Yeah, your boss, too.
all around.
And you guys have done great things to help in the growth for the 2 years that you've been around, too. So, it's been great.
So, just a little story, and then, again, we want to stay humble, but we do want to throw this story out there. There was a particular property that we know for a fact had been on the market with 4 different agencies for almost 3 years. And it just wasn't selling. It hadn't even really gone under contract, and it hasn't had a ton of, actually 0 offers, if I'm not mistaken. And so we were able to get a hold of the listing.
With some help of Greg.
Yes, actually, with a lot of help.
That's a NASCAR driver's home, so Greg was able to step in and give us a helpful...
I will say, we tried to get the listing 2 other times.
We did.
And I think that they wanted to go with a larger, more reputable company. Yeah. Which I tried to explain away. Just the sheer size of a company does not make it better.
That's right.
And actually, if you can appreciate the fact that, are you going to buy a regular car pickup, or are you going to buy the Ferrari or Lamborghini just because they're a huge company and build millions of normal vehicles? We're in this category of the specialty.
Yeah.
And I think we're able to focus on the property.
So we got the listing, some very aggressive marketing, which included what we think is a very creative video platform. Put it all over our social media, and before we knew it, we had that under contract.
Yeah. I think less than 3 weeks. I think 19 days.
19 days.
We had that house under contract. It's scheduled to close in a couple of weeks. So, fingers crossed that everything goes well there. It's a cash buyer, so we're pretty certain that everything's going to happen. One of the cool things about that one, John, before we jump out of real estate and start talking about racing, was the video that we did on that property. I mean, and John kind of wrote the story. John's very good at coming up with scripts for videos. And John kind of wrote the story where we actually had a horse tell us about the property. So, John,
Okay, so we're driving away, right, from the listing agreement. We've got the listing now. We're thinking about how we're gonna, and you should have seen because I didn't explain it very well. We're driving out. I see this beautiful horse, and my wife Tracy and Josh are in the car, Greg, and I say, that horse there is going to tell us the story of this house. And they back at me.
And just to make it known, this is a 66-acre equestrian estate, so it's not like we're talking a 1 acre house in Lake Norman.
So I said,
the horse is very fitting. But.
Yeah. So the whole, we did it, and you need to look it up it's on our YouTube channel with
it's on our YouTube. It's on our website, anchorre.com. Pretty clever video. We've done a few of those now. And it really kind of helps set us apart. But.
Yeah, and the way we always do it is one of us comes up with a really wacky idea, like a talking horse, and then everybody else brings it back down, and as a team effort, we put together something that, again, was pretty instrumental, I believe, in selling this house. You can't always tell, for sure.
Yeah. Well, the video is, the house needed to get out there.
Yeah.
It needed some exposure.
Yeah, it did, and the video was a great way to expose it in a way that nobody else had exposed it before. So that was kind of what we were up against, as you said, 4 agents prior to us trying to sell the house. We needed to do something different. We needed to expose it to a bigger audience, and we were able to do that.
Yeah, and now Bo the horse has a head this big. He's a star now. And
that's right.
Yeah.
But Bo is a good-looking horse.
Yeah,
not afraid to say.
Absolutely. So a lot of talk about Anchor Real Estate. So before we dive into the NASCAR segment, let's take just a few minutes and hear a quick word from our sponsor, Anchor Real Estate. Anchor Real Estate is your boutique real estate company. Located in Mooresville, North Carolina, we emphasize personal relationships with cutting-edge marketing. Innovation through communication, we are Anchor Real Estate. Check us out at anchorre.com or follow us on social media.
And welcome back to Racing to Real Estate, everybody. I'm John Roberts. He's Josh Tucker, and he, of course, is the Biff, Greg Biffle.
One and only.
The Biff, 2-time NASCAR champion. Now, we asked you for questions. We got a couple by way of our social media platforms. Want to tell you in the future, please feel free to send us questions about racing, real estate, or really anything else if you just want to have
Horses.
some fun. Horses. Ask about anything you want. But we did get a couple of questions. We're going to start out with one of the real estate questions. And this is Paul from Pulaski, Virginia, wants to know, I keep seeing homes come up for sale. I start investigating them, and before I know it, the house is gone. It's the lack of inventory that's going on right now. And there are a couple ways, starting out, just first of all, Josh, a couple ways. First of all, get together with a real estate professional. Make sure he or she's got you hooked up to what's called a portal, to where you know when something comes on the market right away. And also be ready with a strong pre-approval letter, and be ready to go out and look at that thing and grab it. Yeah.
There's a few things that you can do to maybe set your offer apart too. I think sellers in this market are looking for things that they want to feel at ease that the buyer is absolutely set on this house, right?
Yep.
So a couple of things that you might be able to do. In North Carolina, we have something called due diligence. I know a lot of states don't have a due diligence fee or period, but we do. So one thing that we say to buyers that are writing offers on homes, let's jack our due diligence fee up a little bit, especially if we feel comfortable that the house is in good condition, been maintained well. Let's increase that fee a little bit. It shows the seller that we're serious, less likely to walk away. Because we put, a good bit of what we call good faith money into the deal. So that's one thing you can do to set your offer apart. Obviously, a strong pre-approval from a good lender definitely makes it more desirable to the seller as well.
Yeah, and also be flexible with terms if you can. If the seller wants a quick close, try to accommodate them. If they want a longer close, try to accommodate that too. See if you can work together to get the job done, because that always helps as a little bit of compromise. Now, Roger from Bat Cave, North Carolina says...
Where's that at?
Bat Cave, North Carolina. It's on the way to Asheville.
Okay.
Yeah, Bat Cave.
I've never been there.
You've never seen Bat Cave?
No. Maybe Roger can send us a link to that one, because I'm not sure where it is.
Bat Cave, North Carolina. Look it up. It's right up by Asheville. It's a good place. But Roger wants to know, why did so many of the top drivers, and I'm assuming it means playoff contenders, crash on Sunday, Greg? We saw so many of the playoff drivers crash and have trouble. Any common thread?
I don't think it's a common thread, but here's what I'm going to tell you is we've never raced at Las Vegas when it's 101 degrees outside.
Oh, it's hot.
Good point, yeah.
The track is very slick. When it gets into the 70s or 80s, because we got to remember, we raced there in
spring.
March,
Yeah.
and it's cold.
It was 68 degrees.
One of the coldest places I've ever been in my life. Signing autographs, I thought I was going to lose my fingers because we were out there. It was like 38 degrees. The sun was behind the trailer I was signing in, and I was frozen solid. So what I'm saying is the racetrack, always cold, always has a lot of grip. We've never raced there in this hot sun before. And so the track was very slick. The grip was very low. And the guys were having troubles, and a car gets away from you. And that particular track, it gathers up 2 or 3 cars every time someone spins out. So, it's a typical mile and a half. You can't get away from, you can't get out of the way when somebody starts to wreck. And that's what just gathered up these guys. It wasn't anybody being stupid. It wasn't anybody driving over their head. It was just, these were just accidents that happened, hard racing, and the car got away from you.
Do you think that the intensity from the first playoff race had anything? I mean, you always, I know I feel a lot more intense, and I'm just sitting on the couch watching, and
because it's playoff time.
My blood pressure's racing up, it's playoffs. Do you think that the first race for the playoffs had anything to do with it, or I mean, a lot of the playoff drivers crashed. I think I seen where 7 out of the top 16 finished 20th or worse.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's put it into context a little bit. So the 4 and the 20 wrecked.
yeah,
Right?
Yep.
They wrecked because of a blown tire.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with how intense they were
True.
running.
Yep.
It was a playoff race. Nothing to do with that. The 41 and someone else wrecked when David Reagan got loose and hit his teammate.
And his teammate, yeah.
Had nothing to do with the playoff
Way
guys.
late in the race, too. That was almost to the end of the race.
Had nothing to do with how hard anyone's racing or it was a playoff race.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you get a slick racetrack and circumstances enhance the experience. So, I don't know if that was 4 of the playoff drivers. I believe it was 4 taken out that had nothing to do with the circumstances of it being the first playoff race.
Yeah, so that's the negative part of it. What about the positive part of it? Brad Keselowski's now ripped off 3 in a row, including 2 crown jewels and the first race of the playoffs. Man, and talk about being hot at the right time.
I mean, I say I got goosebumps because I know what it's like. I won the first 2. I didn't win 3.
Yeah,
but I believe it's 2011. I won the first 2 playoff races, Loudon and Dover. And man, I mean, sometimes it's momentum, and you say that, and you're like, oh, what has that got to do with it? Why can't you just create your own momentum? And a lot of times it's the right place at the right time, and it's the team, and it's everything works. And maybe they found something that's I see the Joey Logano up there and Brad.
Yeah.
So those 2 guys and
Blaney was right behind him a couple times.
On that final restart, I think it was 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So they're running a little bit better now as an organization, and that's all they needed to get there. Now, it's unusual for a guy to win 3 in a row.
Yeah.
But
especially today, it seems like it's the competition's just
It's
a lot
so
different
tight
than it used to be. It seems like even 5 or 10 years ago. And I guess you've seen it earlier this year with Harvick or Busch. I think they each had a string of 2, or maybe I think Harvick might have won 3 in a row early in the year, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
But,
I believe he did.
we're just sitting around, Greg, a couple weeks back, just shooting the bull with Kurt Busch, and it just the topic came up that it's often lost on people how difficult it is to win a cup race because of the competition level. It's so hard to win one race. It is so amazingly hard to win a championship these days, especially under this format. Because Kurt brought up, he said, look, my tire in the first, it was called the Nextel Cup Chase for the championship, way back when. So Kurt Busch is driving down the road in the last race of the season. If his tire goes 2 feet to the to the left when it comes off the car on the racetrack, he doesn't win the championship. It's 2 feet to the right.
And if he doesn't have,
excuse me,
even if he doesn't have the Biff as a teammate,
you helped him win that.
Because I was leading.
That's right.
I was leading the race.
Homestead,
and I slowed down, and went slow that fair amount of that lap
Yeah.
back to the start finish line. And that's when the driver didn't have to slow down
Yeah.
immediately.
Yep.
Right? And I slowed down so that Kurt could get a tire on it and get off a pit road before I put him a lap down. Because I was going to put him a lap down, not on purpose, but I was just going to put him a lap down just because of circumstance. But I was able to keep him on the lead lap.
Yeah, and that's a great point. We used to race back to the start finish line, right? We used to not.
That wasn't race back to the start finish, but that wasn't. I slowed down way more than I should have.
Right? Yeah, and what's different now, right, is they got all the timing and scoring loops around the racetrack, so it picks up to your last point when the caution comes out, where it used to just be the start finish line.
Right.
Right? So
Yep.
the
All the
caution
electronics,
comes out.
yeah, it's
Greg
changed.
knows Kurt Busch is on pit road.
Yeah, boy, it's changed
he can
a lot.
slow down.
I was
before
going down the backside. I slowed way down. And
Allowed him to-
spent my time getting back to let him get off pit road.
Interesting. I bet you guys didn't know that.
Yeah, that's one of those things that you never know.
Yeah, 'cause we didn't
until
know
you
that.
Get a driver on the show with you. What do you guys think? Just talking a little bit more about Vegas, and we've seen this really ramp up the last couple of weeks. NASCAR with their pit road penalty calls in the uncontrolled tire. We've seen this. It happened just this weekend at Vegas.
Yeah.
It happened at Indy a few times, where NASCAR is really starting to crack down on these people. If that tire is out of arm's length, they're calling you on that. And I didn't see that as much in the beginning part of the year as I have the last few weeks.
Well, that's one of those things that it's described that you can compare it to another sport in baseball as a ball and strike call. You have the strike zone out there in baseball, right? And it's the umpire's discretion to say that's a ball or that's a strike.
Right.
Now we have this ball and strike call as to say you've got to be within an arm's length. And, if you looked at Bowman's tire where it was with the crew member, to me, it looked clear that it was out of an arm's length. And the other penalty, short-term memory's going. Do we remember who it was 2 races ago?
Was it Hart?
The thing that
Indy. But
Yeah,
I don't
it was
remember
at
who
Indy,
But
but
at Indy, there was
anyway.
a real, I don't want to say judgmental, right? But just a real, it might have even been Truex.
Yeah,
Maybe it
when
was.
you look back at the video, though, of these two events, the two instances, it's more than an arm's length.
It is. It is. Yeah.
The thing that I don't like about the ball and strike call is that, and then to ramp it up when the playoffs start
True.
is not fair, right?
Good point.
Because whether it's balls and strikes in baseball, and the whole season he's called the edge of the plate, and now since it's the playoff game, he's not calling the edge of the plate.
Good point.
It's like, well, the pitcher's been throwing it there
All season.
for 35 games.
Yeah.
And now you've moved it slightly, or you're not going to give me that, that edge,
Yeah. Good point.
so
Yeah.
you can't, if anything, when the playoffs come, it's very, very important to be, enforce the same thing you have.
Yeah, and
you can't say,
consistency,
we're going to be tougher on the rules now in these last 10 races. You can't do that. You got to be, if you've let this go an arm's length, okay, that's fine, but we're going to crack down on it. Well, do it next year.
Mm-hmm.
And say, if your fingertips aren't touching the thing, you're out. But don't change it now.
Yeah. It's a matter of consistency, and we've heard that from fans over the years. They just, okay, we understand the rules.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just be consistent with the enforcement of them. And then what NASCAR will respond to that sometimes is by saying, okay, well, these situations are different. But then again, when you look back, you could probably find times when the tires were so-called out of control.
The other problem with that is if you took yourself, the viewer, me, and Josh, and spread us out down pit road, and we watched 4 cars, your interpretation might be a little
Could be a lot
slightly
different.
this much different than mine, and that much different than his.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a problem.
And John, your arm might be longer than mine and Greg's.
Right, yeah. So I guess I'd make a good tire carrier,
Yeah,
maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
No, you'd have to be in shape.
Yeah, it's tough. Maybe a couple years younger too, but
Tough spot.
So a couple more things that I seen at Vegas, and this isn't really just Vegas, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Interestingly, we seen in both the Xfinity race, it was Briscoe maybe, the 60 car, and then we seen it also in the Cup race where somebody gets out of control. I think it's off of 4, and they spin down to the inside and they hit right at that opening where the soft wall curves in.
Yeah.
And man, that was 2 huge hits.
You talking about on the backstretch?
Yep.
Maybe it is the backstretch. Yeah, you might be right. Where
Years ago, Jeff Gordon
hit and knocked the radiator out of it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's not fix it till it kills somebody.
Right. So
Yeah,
what can we do? And not just Vegas, right? Every
that.
track. Yeah, and every track has these openings. But
Yeah.
what can we do? Because then were 2 scary hits. The Xfinity hit, when I seen that, I mean,
you got to react.
Lifted his whole car off the ground.
Yeah.
So
that was a scary hit. Yesterday there was one in the exact same
Daytona,
place.
where the wall
yeah,
curves out at the very end.
yeah,
because we know safety is a moving target, but when you see the target right in front of you, that's when you can come out and say, because when Gordon hit that, he got out of the car, thankfully, and he said,
I saw the radiator
fix it.
go, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
I hate to admit how long ago that was.
Yeah.
The second thing that I noticed in both races again, and I've seen it, it's not just Las Vegas, it's a lot of racetracks, but when is NASCAR going to do something, or maybe it's not NASCAR, it's more the tracks, but when are they going to do something about the grass and these drivers that spin out and go through the grass and rip the whole nose off of their race car? You know, I mean, we've seen it time and time again.
Yeah, Charlotte started the trend. They have the artificial turf now.
I think that's still going to rip the front of the car
Would
off.
it rip the front off though, Greg? If it's solid, if it's
I don't.
Isn't it they go down into it? They go down in the landscape and it hits.
I think it's just. I think it is. I'm going to be. I can't wait to. I don't want to see somebody go through it, but certainly somebody's going to go through it. But the thing is, now it's like carpet.
Do you take off too fast?
Well, no. I'm saying if it digs in and grabs it, it's going to rip it out like a roll of carpet.
True.
And now the grass is gone in one section. For the rest of the race, right? Until they come and put new carpet down. So
that's a good point. We're going to have to wait and see.
It may work the opposite. It may not ever grab it.
Yeah.
It may skid across it now because it's the grass is only that high and it's fairly firm underneath it. So it may be the magical fix. But if they do grab it, if they come in and dig on the edge of it because it is seamed, and they do catch it, it's gonna flip up a whole roll of carpet.
That would not be good.
So
no,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So maybe Charlotte has a solution to that. Maybe they don't. We'll see. At least they're trying something.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. It's better than doing nothing.
That's right.
So maybe the turf will help that situation.
But you're not supposed to be in the grass.
You're right.
Supposed to be on the pavement.
Supposed to be on the pavement.
You're right. You're right.
So there's no difference if it was a wall there. You'd be going to the garage, and it ripped the nose off your car because you went through there. Now you're going to the garage.
Good point. Good point.
We saw another great reason to watch the Roval race.
That's right.
Yeah, good point. Overall, I think Las Vegas was a good race. Truex won stage 1, picked up some stage points moving forward. Keselowski won stage 2, picked up some stage points going forward, and then was there at the end to capitalize. And how's about Roger Penske 500th win yesterday for his organization? Between IndyCar, NASCAR. I think he used to be involved in the kart series. I think he has a supercar team in Australia. I mean, involved in racing on all kinds of levels, but 500th win, how special is that?
It was so cool to see the
Pretty
captain.
neat.
He's an amazing human being.
He is. Man, he cares about racing.
Yeah.
He cares about people too.
Yes, he does.
Yep.
He's the nicest guy you'd ever hope to meet, and you'd never know. If you didn't know him beforehand, you would never know that this guy is a worldwide business mogul and this owner of amazing race organizations. Just a regular dude.
Yep.
Yeah. And one of the only ones that has all of his race teams under one roof.
Yeah.
So there's several, Chip Ganassi is involved in the IndyCar series and NASCAR, but 2 separate shops.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's kind of unique that Roger, I was reading a few weeks ago, I want to say his shop there is over 200,000 square feet on over 100 acres right here in Mooresville, North Carolina.
Cool place.
And houses all of his race teams under one roof, so that's pretty neat. That's kind of unusual.
I think it's important, and I think there's a lot of things that can be had by that. You talk about office personnel, and you talk about other things, and then you talk about a carbon shop or design and part design and things like that. A guy that can design a part, a brake duct for for IndyCar can design a brake duct for a Cup car and may have a better solution or be more knowledgeable or have a way it can work.
There's a lot of brains underneath that roof.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Borrow some of them.
Yeah. All right, so good enough on Vegas. Let's move on to Richmond quickly. Man, Kyle Busch is really good at Richmond. I think, he's a strong pick to go there and run very, very well. I think Harvick's won there a couple times. Truex winless at Richmond.
I know a guy that needs to run good there. That's Clint Boyer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he does run good there.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a good short track racer.
He's way down there in the bottom of the barrel, but
Yeah, he could come back.
He could do something there.
Yeah. So Richmond, I think, will be a fun race. Doubleheader for Richmond, right? So we got Xfinity there on Friday night.
Yep.
Cup cars there Saturday evening. Trucks are off for a few weeks. So I think their next race is coming up Talladega.
Yep.
Quickly, and I know we've been through one race already for this playoff round. I'm just going to throw out my 4 names to you guys of the people that I think will not make the round of 12. Okay. And we should have done this last week because now we're one race in, so we kind of
but it helps us look smarter, though.
Yeah.
It does. Ask me next week.
Yeah. Because I think, with Richmond being a short track, and then the Roval's an unknown, right? So nobody knows what's going to happen
Which is
there.
a cool thing to have.
But I'll go ahead and throw mine out first. I'm not bashful, and these are obviously guesses, but I think my first name on my list is Jimmy Johnson. I hate it, man. I'm sorry. I like Jimmy. I worked for him at Hendrick. But man, I just think even though they did show some speed at Vegas, they've beat themselves a lot this year. And I just think with Richmond and then the unknown of the Roval, he's got some ground to make up. I don't see it. So I think Jimmy's gone. I hate it, but I think Eric Jones is going to be gone. I sat here last week.
I felt so bad for him yesterday.
I did
Tough
too,
break.
and it was a tough break. And I sat here last week and said I thought he could be a pick for the Final Four, but man, he's just got a big hole to come out of now, and I think it's going to be really tough. Austin Dillon, I just don't think, even though he squeaked out of Vegas yesterday with I think a 10th or 11th and got some points. I just don't think the next 2 races are going to benefit him that much. And then my 4th pick is Alex Bowman. I don't think that he moves forward. So those were my 4, man.
Yeah, well, I got Eric Jones and Alex Bowman with you too, but let me tell you why. I think with Chase Elliott, I think it's a downward spiral sometimes with that team.
Yeah.
I don't see them making it out. And also, you may call me crazy for this one, I don't see Denny Hamlin in the 11 team making it out. Again, I think it's a team when things start falling apart, they spiral a little bit. And why I don't agree with Austin Dillon is Austin has a knack for not wrecking up race cars. He just has a knack for staying safe.
Yeah, he does.
And he has before, so I think he'll go to Richmond, run well, and I think he'll be real cautious at the Roval and make it through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the reason I chose Hamlin to make it through, and I know he's got a big
Big
amount
deficit,
of points to overcome.
Yeah.
But Hamlin's a good short track racer.
True.
I think Hamlin's
Oh,
going to
he
be
kicks
pretty
butt
good
at
at
Richmond,
Richmond.
you're right.
And I also think Hamlin's a great speedway racer. A lot of these racetracks you go, whether it's Daytona or Talladega, he's really good. And I kind of feel like, just with the unknowns of the Roval, maybe he'll squeak his way in there. I don't know, but I think Hamlin could go to Richmond and do pretty good. So
Yeah.
we'll
And
have to see.
here's the thing with recorded predictions.
Well, I'll let
If
you
we're
guys
right-
know mine later.
It makes
Okay.
us look really
I'll
good.
let
If
you know
we're
that
right,
later.
yeah, and
You want to
if
email
we're-
them to us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're-
yeah.
If we're
That's in a few
completely
weeks.
wrong, we'll erase them. they never existed.
So who knows? So we got them out there. We'll see who's closer after next week probably. So just real quick, wrapping up Xfinity, Ross Chastain stealed the show
That was
at
cool.
Vegas. I think that's really cool. Was super happy to see him win. I would have loved to see him win Darlington too. But man, he's really showing people that give him good equipment and the guy can compete. And I think that's really cool. Grant Enfinger won
was cool.
the second playoff race for the Truck Series. So
He'll
now you
advance.
got Justin Haley and Grant Enfinger locked in to the next round. So I think that's pretty cool. Quickly before we wrap up, just a couple of rumors that were announced this week. Trevor Bayne, it's announced he will not return to the 6 car. We talked about that last week on the show being speculation. It was announced this week, so that's pretty big. Ryan Newman also announces he won't return to RCR.
Interesting.
So that's interesting. He's been with the company for a while. So it'd be interesting to know what happens to the 31. A lot of people, I had heard speculation that they would move Ty Dillon to the 31, and then the 13 might be looking for a driver. hard to say what goes on there. And what about Matt DiBenedetto's announcement to leave Go Fast? Kind of a strange announcement. I don't know what quite to think of that. He don't have anything else coming, but I think he sees people like Alex Bowman, people like Ross Chastain getting these opportunities. And I think he wants a similar opportunity, so he's going to say, hey, I'll just sit on the sidelines and wait for my opportunity. But
risky.
Kind of quite a big risk.
It is risky, but you got to do it sometimes.
True.
Yeah.
Sometimes the bigger,
Unless
bigger
he
the
has
risk, the bigger the
something,
payoff.
unless he has something cooking. And we just don't know it yet.
Yeah. So, a lot of rumors going on. One interesting rumor that we'll end with before we go clear to close. I did hear some scuttle last week that SMI, Marcus Smith's group and Bruton's group, in negotiation with Nashville Fairgrounds to buy the fairgrounds, the Nashville Speedway up there. So a lot of speculation. What's going to happen if that does happen? Will they try to bring NASCAR? Certainly, at first it would probably be trucks or Xfinity to the fairgrounds. 5 years from now, could we see a cup race at the Nashville Fairgrounds on the half-mile oval? That would be pretty spectacular.
I hope so. Nashville's a great city. You used to live there.
Great city, and it's a cool racetrack.
Yeah,
really cool.
I've never been to the fairgrounds up there, actually,
awesome.
believe it or not. But
it did. That would be a good fit.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, John, anything else, man? I think we've covered most of the racing
Let's
stuff.
get clear to close.
Clear to close. Let's do it.
Yeah, what we wanted to let everybody know is that our company, Racing 2 Real Estate, doesn't only put on this podcast. We're also a full-service production company. We can make real estate videos for you. We have a creative team behind us. We have great photographers. We'll make videos for you. And also, if you like the way our podcast looks, we can have you in this studio with your own look to do your own podcast. So follow us on social media. If you're interested, let us know. Check out the videos we've made. And of course, please watch this podcast every week. And if you want to, get together with us and we can hopefully help you out.
Yeah, so easiest way to get together with us, obviously social media. You can send us messages on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. We follow them very regularly. You can email us, racing2realestate@gmail.com. We want to hear your questions. We want you guys to engage with us. So quickly for me, clear to close. We got 2 closings next week, so just working on making sure everything's ready for those. Get those ones done with, and then still no announcement yet on Anchor Real Estate's Wind Down Wednesday for October.
We're working on it.
But we are working on it. We think it will be a fun time, so follow Anchor Real Estate social media to keep up with us on that. Like we said, Richmond coming up this weekend, doubleheader with Xfinity and Cup. Dale Jr. coming out of retirement, putting the helmet back on to run Xfinity, so that will be fun to watch. And I think that's it. So this is episode 2, Racing to Real Estate.
Thanks to the Biff.
Thanks to the Biff for joining us. Hopefully we have you on again soon. Ask us questions, #R2RE. That's it, folks. Racing to Real Estate. It's a wrap.